Hey, everybody. Be a bit here, not much longer. Okay. Just want to do a few quick shout outs. We get rocking and rolling here. Great to see y'all. I know it's been a while. So hello over to Ryan. Great to see you, Ryan. Hey, Ed. Great to see you, my friend. And Infinite Consciousness. Thank you so much for the membership into the Last Timers Club. Very much appreciated. Some guy, hello, welcome. Says we'll keep an eye out on the live stream. Thanks so much. And Handyman, great to see you. Yeah, that was actually some of these messages from last night when I had to reschedule a bit. Hope you're doing well. Hey, Boopster, good to see you. Games Dog, hey, says, I finally get to follow along to one of these lives. Glad to have you, my friend. And thank you for your kind support as well. Black Uni, hey, I think I saw you weren't feeling too well. We'll get down to that message. Hey, Roxana. Thank you as well for your support. True Detective, hello, great to see you. Thank you as well for supporting the channel. Andre, hey, great to see you. Thank you so much for your support. Good to see you. DSK, hello, welcome. Great to have you with us. And Vargas, hey Vargas. Good to see you. Been a hot minute. And Pure Water, hey, great to see you. Pure Water's like sitting here at 2 a.m. eating tiramisu in my bed. So happy for the stream. I'm happy to have you with us. It's always good to see you. Hope you enjoy your tiramisu. And True Detective says, I hope you don't mind, guys, but I invited a 50-foot Jesus. Well, you're going to have some competition because we know there's 200-foot Jesus, 500-foot Jesus, Demon Eye Jesus. Actually, I think there's a Jesus appearance tonight. Yeah, I think so. Or there's I don't know. I'm trying to remember here. I think there is. I know Jesus is brought up. Okay. Oh, so Uni says, still trying to heal from my leg injury. Oh, I'm sorry. That really sucks. I hope you heal soon. What ended up happening there? When I don't know how bad it is, but one of the things I swear by is comfrey oil. I always forget about it, and then when I use it, I'm like, why the hell do I keep forgetting about it? It's such a great herb oil to have on hand. Not saying that's definitely going to help or anything, but just something to consider, that everyone should consider having in their arsenal. Alright, let's see. A says, just finished work. 2 a.m. in London. Damn. Getting out late, my friend. Great to see you. Welcome. And Candidly, hey, good to see you, my friend. And let's see, Ryan. Neo Ace. Hey, Neo, great to see you. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Vegan Skeptic. Hey, brother. I was just breaking down some clips of our conversation, actually. They'll probably be posted in the next month or so. Maybe sooner. Would love to catch up. I hope to see you in the end of year chat if you're around for the members appreciation stream. Would love to have you. Mindwork. Hey. Welcome. And I think that's everybody. Eclipse Wanderer, hello. Glad to have you with us. Welcome. Hey, Killer Kyla in the house. Great to have you. Good to see you. David Rollman, the Rollman Experience. Rollman Revolution, I'm sorry. Good to see you, brother. Mao, good to see you. Hey, Dusty, welcome. Good to see you both. And Eddie. Hey, Eddie. AI Jesus with the guilt and shame. Good to see you. All right. So let's get going. If I missed anyone, I apologize. The chat kind of skipped ahead a little bit, but I think I got everybody. All right. So let's get over to the other screen. One sec. I gotta sneeze. All right, here we go. Will this work? Oh, ignore that countdown clock. Hey, everybody. Great to see you out there. And happy holidays. Because we all get in a daze during the holidays, don't we? All right. So, we're going to get right into this. I have a few NDEs we're going to go over. One is on video and one is on audio. But the one on audio, I also have the report submitted to NDERF, so we can go along with that at the same time. And so yeah, what I'm going to do is start with the video from the Epic NDE channel, Thantos TV. If you're not subscribed over that channel, it's a must subscribe. It's a great channel. They have a English version of the channel, as well as I believe a couple other languages too. So check them out. Thantos TV. So let's get into this, and here we go. If I could, where the hell is the video? Here we go. All right, so I'm just gonna have to mute the intro music, but I'll leave up the text. So you're not gonna hear any music. You're not gonna hear anything on your speaker for about like 15 seconds, so don't get all freaked out. There we go. But take a look at the text. Oh, Dave, thanks so much for the kind super chat. Says, Merry Christmas, Mark. Shh, a gift from Santa. Thanks, brother. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. I just can't have the intro music in there, just in case. I've ended up in hell. After, you know what, he had an NDE and learned to appreciate life despite serious illness. He's got a heartbreaking story. But here we go. Here's the volume.
Live under extremely difficult physical conditions with a cervical spine injury resulting in paralysis, lung disease, Parkinson's, and a heart attack. First of all, thank you very much for agreeing to do this interview despite your circumstances. If you agree, I would like to start with an event from 2020 that subsequently led to a special near-death experience. At that time, you attempted suicide, or as you yourself put it, it was not an attempt. It was not an attempt in the sense of a cry for help, but rather suicide. I didn't want to go on anymore, you said. How did that come about? What happened back then?
On that day, and even in the days before, I had become increasingly melancholic, how shall I put it? And on that day, I felt an overwhelming longing for my daughter, Tanya. She is my eldest and passed away in 2013. My youngest daughter and I found Tanya dead in her flat. I wanted to be with her so badly. I didn't want to live anymore. I felt abandoned and lonely, and at that moment, it was overwhelming.
Did you have a very close relationship with your daughter Tanya?
Yes, Tanya and I had a very close relationship.
And what did she die of?
Pulmonary embolism. She had problems with thrombosis. She had to have regular thrombosis injections. And I suspect she stopped taking them because she showed me her stomach 3 weeks before. She was very slim, and she said to me, "Look, Daddy, all the bruises from the injections." When she died, we found lots of unused syringes on the living room table. So I assumed that she hadn't been taking them in the last few days, or weeks perhaps, because of the bruises, given she was a bit vain. And that then led to a pulmonary embolism.
And that must have been a very heavy blow for you. How did you react at the time? What happened next?
First of all, my weight went up to 150 kilos and I shut myself away. The blinds in my flat were all down, darkness.
Did you live alone?
Yes, I only went out when I needed to buy something. And I mainly bought chocolate and beer, things like that. I withdrew and completely shut myself off. I didn't want to see or hear from anyone. The pain was just too overwhelming, and within a very short time, I gained weight until I weighed 150 kilos.
Within months?
Yes, it didn't even take half a year, I think. My situation at the time was that I was living on the second floor of a building. With my chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and other illnesses, and weighing 150 kilos, it was a disaster, and it was clear I couldn't live like this anymore in this place.
You were already very ill at the time, right?
Yes, I was already very ill.
Please tell us how you were feeling at the time.
I had severe COPD, which is called asthma overlap syndrome. I was undergoing treatment for it, and the doctor suspected at the time that I had Parkinson's. Today, I know that there are different forms of Parkinson's. In my case, it is the essential tremor-dominant form. So it's the rough and violent type. My daughter or my mother could have told you a thing or two about what that means. When I wanted to pour myself a drink, that's what my hands did. Everything got spilt because I couldn't control them. Other Parkinson's patients have fine tremors, but for me, it's a rough shaking. One day, my daughter brought me a coffee. She just pressed it into my hand. I didn't think anything of it at the time, and then it started. The coffee spilled all over the flat, over her, over me, over the sofa.
So you were already in very poor health at the time. You had gained a lot of weight and withdrawn after the death of your daughter. And what happened next?
It's so, like this Matrix, like he loses his daughter, he's got all these health issues. He's just getting his ass kicked by the system. And, you know, some people, you know, you get that darkness in your life. You feel like there's no hope. There's nothing. And the Matrix did not hold back in kicking his ass from start to finish, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
So you were already in very poor health at the time. You had gained a lot of weight and withdrawn after the death of your daughter. And what happened next? Did the hole inside you get even bigger?
Yes, I then sought help from a psychiatrist and neurologist because I had a severe epileptic seizure. I was in Ulm for treatment because of that. Also because of the depression that has haunted me my whole life. I have to say that I also have borderline personality disorder and bipolar disorder. And yes, in the end, I sought help and was prescribed medication. That certainly contributed to my rapid and extreme weight gain. And finally, after 2.5 or 3 years, I think, I said to myself, I can't go on like this. I have to lose weight. Because it was all just too much to bear. If someone claims to be happy weighing 150 or 200 kilos, I can't confirm it. That's not true. I suffered greatly from it.
You knew it could be different.
Yes, when you see pictures of me today, with a belly like that and a bloated head, that's not me. You wouldn't believe it. And finally, I banned sugar from my house. Chocolate. I stopped eating sugar altogether and consistently ate only half the amount. And I gave myself time. So I didn't put myself under pressure to get back to a normal weight in 6 months. I knew it would take time.
And although things were improving in that sense, at some point you could no longer bear your situation, which led to this suicide attempt.
Yes, it was here in this flat. I came to this flat back then. Before that, I was in hospital in Ulm because of my Parkinson's disease. I was supposed to get new medication that was right for me, but I caught a hospital virus and had to stay there for another 5 weeks in isolation. No one visited me, only nurses in protective clothing, full gear. Meanwhile, my daughter found out about this flat through a newspaper advertisement and organized everything so that it would be available to me.
So your younger daughter took care of you. You weren't in good health. Eventually, you attempted suicide. Was there a specific trigger for that?
No, there was nothing in particular that led to it. It was the feeling of loneliness and the overwhelming need to be with my deceased daughter.
Poor guy.
So you didn't have such a close relationship with your younger daughter, who looked after you, right?
We love each other very much. She is also there for me, but of course she has her own life. She has to work and so on. That's clear. But at the time, I felt that she didn't have enough time for me. Of course, she had her own life, but I would have liked to have had more of her company. Today, I see things differently than I did then.
You felt very lonely at that time. And you had a strong need to be with your deceased daughter. Being with your daughter, were you convinced that there is life after death?
Yes, I was. After my near-death experience, however, even more so than before.
What did you do then?
It was in the evening one day. I am a pharmaceutical chemistry lab technician, so I know a little bit about medicines, and I had access to many medicines. I had 2 months' worth of supplies with me and just took everything that seemed suitable. I stuffed as much as I could hold in both hands into my mouth. I washed down the medication with a few bottles of beer, and then all I remember is sitting down here. There was only a sofa. And then I don't remember anything else. I came to in the hospital's intensive care unit, where my daughter was also there. She was allowed to come to me. And then I became aware of my near-death experience of what had happened.
So you became aware of the NDE when you woke up?
Yes, it burned itself into my memory.
Please tell us about it.
I remember it all very clearly.
It's like the one thing I think is, I don't think it's hard for you guys to understand. You know, I know many of you out there, everyone has their own issues, right? But like when you're dealing with endless health issues day in and day out, and then you have like something major in your life kind of like push things over the edge in combination with that, you could just snap, right? Like you can, it takes everything out of you because you're already going through one major thing or multiple major things. And then like a bomb is dropped, like him losing his daughter. And it's just like, how much is this guy supposed to endure in his life script? I mean, it's just not fair. Like, some people just get the gamut thrown at them and have to endure endless amounts of shit. And I really think what the system does is it probably is like it ebbs and flows, right, guys? Like, we'll have maybe a number of horrible incarnations, and then maybe when the system's like, oh, okay, all right, maybe we threw a little bit too much at you, and then maybe they'll give you like a better one, or like a really good one, should we say, whatever that means, right? Talking like, no financial worries, solid family, et cetera, right? But at the end of the day, talked about this a lot, right? At the end of the day, no matter what, no matter how good your personal situation could be, you still have the meat suit. There's no getting around that. There is still some level of suffering. But I think when you go through like health issues, like chronic health issues, or like if you're losing loved ones, that's a big one, right? It sets things up for us to ask bigger questions and say why, And I think that's like a big part of the awakening process for many. I can't speak for you listening personally, but based on a lot of people who I've talked to, it really seems to be the case. When there's suffering involved, we tend to put more scrutiny on the system than when things are going easy peasy, right? So, in a sense, as twisted and convoluted as this is, if you've got like easy street in your life, then it might not be as you might not be as receptive to awakening because you're not necessarily questioning it as often. Now, I'm not saying that's 100%, but I think there's probably something to that to a large extent. Again, not for everybody, but probably a good portion, especially when you get down the road and question things like we do, right? You've had some shit happen in your life, most likely, to really question things the way we do.
I remember it all very clearly.
Ja, ich war, also most vorgreifen.
But I must preface this by saying that when I was admitted, my daughter's doctor said, "Your father will most likely not survive due to the large amount of medication he has taken.
Alle Voraussicht nach nicht überleben.
And if he does survive, he will likely suffer severe brain damage." In my near-death experience, I did not see a bright light, nor did I pass into an afterlife where everything is beautiful. For me, it was exactly the opposite. I ended up in hell. It was really intense. There was a palace made of stone, grey, large, with a high canopy roof like those found in China or Japan. And there was a throne. A flat throne without a backrest, which ultimately looked like a block of stone.
No backrest? What kind of fucking throne is that? Excuse my language. Seriously, what kind of throne is that? That ain't a throne.
And the devil was sitting on this throne. He looked down from above, where a jetty ran out into the sea and boats were moored on the left and right. Old boats that also looked Japanese. These boats moored there, and then the souls were brought to the devil. They got out of the boats and were brought to him.
Now, I found this interesting, right? We have the connection with water, getting off boats. It really made me question if this guy was extremely close to actually going. Because it lines up with the Greeks, right? I don't know. It just maybe I don't know. It just when he was saying this, I was like, wow. I think there's he may have been closer than we think. So just hear what he said one more time.
These boats moored there, and then the souls were brought to the devil. They got out of the boats and were brought to him. The palace was open, and at the bottom of the palace were 4 large stones that looked like lions' claws.
Put it in the chat. Do you think it's like a twist on The River Styx? Do you think it's like some version of that? It really feels like it could be.
Stones that looked like lions' claws. They turned, and that made a terrible grinding, creaking noise. Very loud, very intense. It was only later that I realized what this was obviously connected to. I should mention that I was raised Catholic, which may have played a role in my experience and how I judge it. In any case, I saw the devil.
Okay, so it's interesting that I love when people give us that information, right? Like, oh, I was born Catholic. And so, but it really seems like, so he's getting like almost like a hybrid experience. This is just kind of me shooting from the hip, but I think there's something to that. And I'm sorry, I realized the title in the video at the top is completely wrong. That was from last month.
Role in my experience and how I judge it. In any case, I saw the devil. It was hot there. He looked red and he had horns. Indeed, just like you might imagine your typical devil. He looked very impressive. And he watched the souls that were brought to him. After a while, I realized that a selection was being made among the souls that were brought to him. Some of them went into a funnel and were ground up.
Now, some of you, this is kind of interesting, and I don't think this is addressed, but some of them are ground up. Now, one of the most difficult videos I ever did was of that coma patient, coma NDE, where the guy, I don't even like repeating it, but the guy kept having a coma nightmare or hell-like loop where his child would be multiplied in this experience. It would start at like I think it was like a Burger King or something, and like he was running and trying to save his child, and then the kid would literally be put like through the shredder. I mean, it was absolutely gut-wrenching experience to listen to. One of the most difficult cases ever to talk about. And if none of you've seen it and you've got the stomach too, if you're like not right in the good mental place, don't listen to it. But if you haven't heard that case, it is nuts, absolutely nuts. But I don't know, it's just kind of weird hear him say this. It's like it's a wild NDE.
That were brought to him. After a while, I realized that a selection was being made among the souls that were brought to him. Some of them went into a funnel and were ground up. This created a terrible creaking noise that was connected to the lion's or tiger's claws.
So they served, so to speak, to control the grinding mechanism.
Yes, exactly. And that frightened me greatly. The whole situation was terrifying.
Scared to death.
Yes, scared to death.
Were you an outside observer, or did you feel that you were part of the scene? That you could also be thrown into the funnel? That you were also affected? Or were you more like a cinema goer who was just watching everything?
No, I did feel like I was right in the middle of it. I stood next to the devil and watched everything. But I wasn't afraid of being thrown in too. What was particularly frightening was that people were being thrown in there. It was a situation of extreme fear. And absolutely real. I know I was there. Of course, I also know that there are people who say, yes, well, that's actually delirium, or it's withdrawal symptoms, or whatever explanations they try to come up with. But I know I was there, and that's what matters to me.
Did anything change as a result of this experience? Was that the one big scene you saw, or were there more images? And did you experience similar things several times? Because you were in intensive care for quite a long time.
Essentially, it was that one scene. I didn't see anything like that again after that, but the experience was burned into my brain.
So there were no other scenes, no further images?
No, that was my experience. But then it was also clear to me that God had given me life. I am a religious person. I believe in God. I am not Catholic, but I believe in God. And the consequence was that I had the certainty. God gave me life, and as a human being, I do not have the right to take my own life and act against him. Because if I do that, I'll end up exactly where I don't want to be. Namely, not with my daughter, but in hell. I don't have the right to take my own life. My experience led me to this deep conviction.
And that was such a profound experience that it has had a lasting impact on you.
Yes.
Even to this day. You couldn't imagine attempting suicide again today.
No, definitely not. Because now, after this experience, it goes against my beliefs. When the time comes that God decides it's enough, that it's time for me to go, then that's fine. But until that happens, I'll stay here no matter what happens in my life. And for me, the word acceptance is also very important in this context. It also has to do with my guardian angels, whom I have experienced and in whom I didn't believe before. Now I believe in them, and I know exactly which ones are mine, because I have had experiences with them.
But that was after the NDE, correct?
Yes, that was afterwards, but there had been contact before that too.
You had this experience of being in hell during your time in intensive care. Were there any further experiences or impressions of this kind afterwards?
No, I didn't experience anything else like that afterwards. I was fully awake again. But it took a few days, 5 or 6 days for sure, until I was ready. And during that time I had the experience. I was in hell. It obviously lasted 5 or 6 days. I found out about this time span afterwards.
So you had the impression that this hellish experience lasted for days?
Yes, it actually lasted for days.
Days.
I was there the whole time, and afterwards I learned that it was 5 or 6 days.
Crazy.
I don't know exactly. And when I came to,
It really does seem like a coma NDE.
when the detoxification took effect, it was all over. I then spent...
Because like with if like there's substances involved, especially, who knows? I don't know. It's hard to elaborate without having all the full information.
And a few more days in intensive care. And after my stay in hospital, I was admitted to a psychiatric ward because of the risk of suicide and so on.
But you were reformed.
Well, reformed is such a strange term. But yes, you could say I was reformed.
You have surely had many intense dreams in your life. Was there a clear qualitative difference for you compared to your hellish experience? Was this near-death experience completely different from any dream you have ever had?
Yes, definitely.
In what way did this experience seem deeper, more vivid?
I've never dreamt anything like that before. And besides, when I wake up, I might remember my dreams for a brief moment, but then they fade away. I don't usually remember my dreams. And if I do, it's only for a brief moment, like a flash. But I had never experienced anything like this before. And that it's burned itself into my brain, that I still remember it years later. What I have told you is alive in me. The souls on their way, the grey stones and the throne and the devil, the footbridge with the ships, the funnel, the lion's claws that turned, it has all really burned itself into my brain, because I was actually there. And that led me to fundamentally change my life, including my view of everything related to my illnesses. For me today, the glass of water is always half full and not half empty. And that is crucial for me. It allows me to deal much better with situations when there is another health crisis, as there was in January when I had a serious fall. I was able to deal with it very differently than before, much better.
What happened on that day in January?
I don't know the details. I was sitting here on the sofa and fell asleep in front of the television at night, probably around 11:30. That's when I usually get tired. And then there was a loud noise and I woke up. I had hit my head on the wooden floor. Based on the direction I was lying in on the floor, I suspect I was on my way to the toilet. I remember that it was bleeding. The oxygen I needed was gone. My glasses were gone. Thank God I still had my joystick control in my hand. And I wanted to press it, because I couldn't breathe. The oxygen was gone. But I couldn't. I wanted to press it, but I couldn't. So I started ranting and raving at the dear Lord. What is all this crap? Now you're doing this to me too? What's going on here? What am I supposed to learn now? I've had enough of all this. That's how I ranted and raved. But at some point, a calming insight came to me. God willing, I was ready to accept whatever happened. That thought prevailed in my mind. God willing. That calmed me down. And suddenly I was able to press the button after all. So the device started up. That allowed me to activate the home emergency call system. And then I was able to call for help.
So this attitude became very important to you, accepting things with confidence.
Yes, exactly.
I would like to come back to your experience. How did it begin? Do you remember transition to this hellish experience? An out-of-body experience? Or were you simply there?
I was just there.
Did you experience yourself as you experience yourself here, or was this experience somehow different?
I could observe and perceive everything that was happening around me.
You were the person you are now.
Yes, exactly. For example, I've always had my difficulties with the Christian faith. Jesus? Well, he must have been an admirable person.
Oh, yeah.
But I could never really believe in his ascension. I believe in God. And I also had other things to deal with. For example, I have experience with card reading, angel cards. A carer brought me some of these cards and explained to me what I had to do. After that, I had the cards lying around here for about a week.
Interesting, right? Almost feels like, I don't know, feels like, meant to be, almost like a setup by the Matrix. Oh, here are some angel cards. He's like, I didn't really think about much. Had them lying around for a week, and then, getting into some divination. Interesting, right? Didn't have interest, and someone just brings them into his life.
It's lying around here for about a week. And at some point I thought, well, okay, I'll just give it a try. And even though I really didn't believe in it, she explained to me, turn the cards over and look at them one by one as they lie. You will feel the one that is right for you. You will feel a slight warmth or something like that. So I ran my fingers over the cards, and with one of them I thought, there's something. But immediately afterwards I thought, nonsense, that can't be. Rubbish. Finally, I had gone through all the cards and reached the top. Then I was told to go back and look at all the cards again, and when I came back, at exactly the same card, I had that feeling again. There's something there. So I took that card and turned it over. Jofiel. And what was on it? Be patient and accept. Exactly that.
You
Be patient and accept that, we are going to extract Loosh. Be patient. And who said that life was going to be easy? You're going to come back and still going to have to deal with all this. Just be patient. Be patient. Don't get crazy over there.
mentioned angels earlier.
Don't have any
Do
expectations.
you feel supported, guided on your path through life?
Today, I believe that I am in this world so that my soul can learn something. And when I look back, it seems that my soul was very eager to learn, thirsty for knowledge, and it still is.
Hungry for experience.
Yes, and I am firmly convinced that if I do not solve my problems in this world, fulfill my task, then
go.
I'll have to return in the next life.
Crazy, huh?
And
I mean, it crushes me to hear him say that. Because I think so many people feel that way. They feel they haven't done enough, they're inadequate, they did this wrong here, that wrong there, and they fucked up, and so well, eventually I'm going to have to reincarnate anyways, but I'm going to keep bettering myself, and I'll get there eventually. You know, it just hurts to hear it. It really does. This poor guy, he's been through absolute hell, and he's giving away his sovereignty to a being he knows nothing about, a being or beings, a system, a computer, whatever the hell it is, right? He's giving himself away to it because he believes it has his best interest at heart, and that this is like there's a reason, a noble reason behind all of this, to keep going and to keep reincarnating until you get it right. But that's like the prevalent narrative out there, right? That's what the Matrix pushes. It's not like he doesn't have a basis for believing in that. It just hurts to see someone like going through what he went through and continues to go through, and only to, just give himself up on a platter to the Matrix. And then he's going to get mind wiped, and he's going to come back and not remember anything. And who knows what kind of script they're going to have for him next time. Who knows?
next life. And I am firmly convinced that if I do not solve my problems in this world, fulfill my task, then I will have to return in the next life. And I don't want that.
So reincarnation is also a possibility for you.
Yes, of course, logically. After my experience, yes. That changed everything.
Did you believe in repeated earthly lives before your experience?
I didn't really believe in it.
You said that you were raised as a Christian. Christians don't normally believe in reincarnation.
I know that I will be with my daughter as soon as God gives me the time, as soon as He says, "Now come to us, it is time for you." And until then, I have to accept life as it is meant for me in this world. Even if I don't understand the connections, it doesn't matter. Someday I will understand.
Did you receive any direct reference to
it's so crushing, right? And this is basically what he just said is the crux of how we continually get caught up in these cycles, right? And it boils down to it involves many, many things, as we all know, right? But the biggest is the attachments. Whether it's family, friends, wife, husband, children, grandparents, material possessions, wealth, extreme sports, adrenaline junkies. It doesn't matter what it is, music, sports, etc. I mean, we go down a whole list, right? And you can have like a combination of some or many of those things. But the big one, the Grand Pumbaa is those we love and care about. That's the big one. And this poor guy had his heart ripped out of his chest after losing his daughter, on top of having health issues, right? His heart was ripped out of his chest and he loans to be with his daughter. I mean, you can't. What do you say to that, right? Like there've been experiencer cases that I've gone over in the past, and some of them are just absolutely heartbreaking, like the case we were just talking about with 1 minute. Sorry, I don't want to cough in your ears. Like the case we were talking about with the guy who went through coma hell loop and all that, right? Like I really, really wanted to reach out to that guy, but I just couldn't. I joined his Discord server and then I just left. I just couldn't do it. Like he'd been through so much that you don't want to, when someone is so far, has been beaten up beyond belief, you don't want to open up this can of worms, right? About the soul trap. It could crush someone, right? And I think people who run across this information, they do so because they're meant to in some way. Like their own research, their own journey has brought them to a point where they're willing to ask these types of questions and think to themselves, well, this makes a lot of sense, right? And then see the evidence laid out, presented on this channel, and run with it, right? But when someone goes through something like that and like that dark, it crushes me inside to hear it, right? Like he just wants to be reunited with his daughter. But the thing is they're both going to be memory wiped, and yeah, sure, they'll end up probably back here again and reincarnated in the same, part of the same soul group, and maybe the roles will be reversed or different in some way, but they'll be back in some capacity, but they're not going to have the memories, the experiences, the love that they had in this lifetime. So it's going to be something completely different, but there's going to be magnetism and connections, should we say, to one another in whatever capacity that they exist in each other's orbit, however it's set up in their life scripts, right, with the Matrix involvement. It's such a, when you got things this, when you have situations this deep, this dark, this heartbreaking, it's just a prime example too of how messed up and how well thought out this parasitic system is, how it takes advantage of us because of our love for others. One example, right? One example of many. This is a solo journey, my friends. Our loved ones, for as much as we want them to escape and all that stuff, and maybe we share information, maybe we drop hints and all that stuff, it is still up to them at the end of the day. Whether they're here or not, it's still up to them. They have to find that journey and walk that journey themselves. And that may involve 5 more reincarnations, 1 more reincarnation, 100 more reincarnations. I don't know, right? But the bottom line is it's up to us as individuals. This is a straight up individual journey, and there are millions of others going through this at the same time as we are.
Don't understand the connections. It doesn't matter to us. It is time for you. And until then, I have to accept life as it is meant for me in this world. Even if I don't understand the connections, it doesn't matter. Someday I will understand.
Did you receive any direct reference to reincarnation during your experience of hell?
No, not that.
So you adopted this belief afterwards?
After that, I knew.
You knew because it seemed logical and consistent to you, or because you simply knew?
I just knew. When I woke up with the experience burned into my mind, I knew that was how it was.
Do you feel that your overall physical condition has improved since this experience?
He knew.
Or that you can cope with things more easily?
No, I wouldn't say so. But I don't expect any improvement in my illnesses. My COPD, for example, will get worse every year. I know that, and I experience it too. For example, 5 years ago, with oxygen for 24 hours, I had a blood oxygen saturation of 96 to 97%. But now I'm at a maximum of 89 to 90%. So I'm already on the brink. And if I wake up at night and my oxygen has slipped away, the mask, then I can quickly end up at 70 or 65%. And that's already critical.
Religion, spirituality, which role do they play for you today?
A very big role, but the way I understand it.
Your own experience is the decisive factor.
Yes, I believe in something greater, something universal. I call it God. The term may be Christian in nature for me. God, male, and so on. But that's not a problem for me. The belief gives me a good feeling.
It gives me.
And I know that my Tanya is in good hands.
Can you hear that? Can you just? This is just. It crushes me inside to hear that. The belief gives me a good feeling. Think about that, guys. That is religion in a nutshell. Because this place is set up with a memory wipe. We're all here in this insane asylum, memory wiped, lifetime after lifetime. Feeling good about something or having something, no matter what the extent is of that belief, it's still giving yourself over to it because it's some sort of comfort. But that comfort is false because this whole place is designed to keep us in the dark, to keep us asking question. What's wrong with this place? What's wrong with this place? Question. What's wrong with this place? Over and over and over, right? That's what it's all about. And so we get clouded, we get lost. And so we naturally seek something outside of ourselves to provide comfort and fake answers. Like an all-loving God. Like that, as much as it pains me to say this, that an all-loving God is taking care of his daughter. It's so hard to even say stuff like that. I sound like an asshole, right? But it's the truth. This is part of the biggest problem of being here is putting belief or faith or intention in a direction to something you know nothing about, I know nothing about, and at the same time, this thing that we're or others are giving belief and faith into is supposedly responsible for what's happening here. What kind of, I'm sorry, but like it's crackpot thinking when you really break it down and look at it for what it is. It's not that he's a bad person or anyone's a bad person for wanting to have faith and belief in something. It's that at the end of the day, look at what goes on here. You can't call what if, we're going with the, more mainstream way of thinking that, it's an all loving, all compassionate, empathetic God, blah, 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 right? If we're going down that direction, then you can't ignore what's happening here. You have to look at it for what it is and say, okay, well, and then like we talk about many, many times, the flaw of the human body itself, the flaws, the pain, the suffering, the violence, the capabilities that humans in the animal kingdom and everything that goes on here, right? That can't just be ignored. It can't. But somehow, some way, this system is convinced many, many millions, billions of people that there is still this loving God to worship and look up to, and you can't wait to be reunited with it or enter the kingdom of heaven or whatever, right? It's weird. It is so weird. But that's all part of the programming, right? It's not a reflection of him or anyone who goes down these roads because it's comfort. It gives people false comfort. And at the same time, serves their essence up on a platter to something they truly know nothing about and are just banking on faith. Faith.
And I know that my Tanya is in good hands up there. That I don't have to worry about her. She's happy there, I know that. And we will see each other again, I know that too. But not at a time that I determine. God determines that. That's the difference from before.
How are you coping physically with the pain? Did you receive palliative care?
Yes, I was in the palliative care unit in Weissenhorn. I had a single room there, which was really lovely. And the nurses took very considerate and personal care of me. They always had time for me. And they kept emphasizing, if you're in pain, let us know, and you'll get what you need right away. That was absolutely unusual for today's standards. It's different in a normal hospital ward. That was when I met Mrs. Nintid. And during a conversation, she suddenly said something to me. Right in the middle of the conversation. The lights were off, the television was off, the weather outside was gloomy, so there was nothing that could have influenced it. We were talking about Tanya, about my situation, how much I miss her. We talked about everything that had happened, and then she suddenly said to me, "Mr. Shook, behind you on the wall," it was a white wall, "there is a blue glow." At the time, I thought to myself, what on earth is she talking about? Is there something wrong with her? I don't believe that. It can't be. Then I turned around, and sure enough, there was a blue shimmer on the wall, clearly visible. This is Michael, with the blue sword. For protection.
You sensed that?
Yes, it was clear to me then. I saw this blue shimmer, and then I was convinced. I mean, I can't just pretend that nothing is there when I see it. It was really a clear sign that I couldn't ignore. Just as I couldn't ignore Jafil. It was the same with the card.
So you had a deep conviction that you were being guided.
When I woke up in intensive care after my suicide attempt, I always said a whole horde of guardian angels must have descended on me. Their motto was, "We have to save him. He's not going to escape us now. We have to get him out of there." That's really how I saw it. I could smile about it. That's how life is for me now. Although I still experience depression. Yesterday, for example, I wasn't feeling well. I've been having trouble breathing for the last few days, even at night. It's not nice when you feel like you're suffocating. It's a really awful feeling.
Oh.
But still.
Nevertheless, you
I saw someone go through that. It is heartbreaking to witness. And there's nothing you can do. Nothing you can do. They're living in an absolute torture. They can't catch their breath. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Ugh. Poor guy.
always say the glass is half full.
Yes, and I get help when I need it. I couldn't do that before. I was always someone who took care of everything myself. Today I can admit that I need help here. That's no longer a problem for me. And it's a big step forward for me.
So you're optimistic about the future.
Yes, not necessarily in terms of my illnesses. But there is a reason for me to be here. My children need me, and my grandchildren especially. I can be there as a grandfather, even with these disabilities. I have my advantages. My brain is in top shape. And I have my hobbies. Everything to do with electronics, mobile phones and so on. If there are any problems, everyone comes to me. My mobile phone isn't working. Can you help me with that? I always manage to fix it. I enjoy that.
It's a wonderful, fitting task for you.
Yes.
Thank you very much for describing your experiences and your situation. All the best. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
Okay. So that is going to wrap up the video segment of tonight. But we also have an audio case that we're going to go over. And I'm looking forward to going over that with you guys. And we may go over two, but we're definitely going to go over one more. The next case is going to be Jeffrey C. But what I'm going to do is just take a quick 5-minute break, and then we'll be right back. Just got to go take a look at the doggos. And so just give me about 5, 6, 7 minutes tops. Got to take them out. And then we'll be right back, and we'll go over case number 2. So if you're watching the replay, if the timestamps aren't available, fast forward about 5 to 7 minutes, okay? So hang in there. I'll be right back, and I look forward to going over this next case with you. It's a doozy. Much love, my friends. Thank you. Okay, ignore the 10-minute clock. That's not going to be correct. Okay, see you shortly, guys. You're right back here. All right, my friends. Thank you for your patience as always. The beasts are all set. Okay, just as a reminder, I know it's on the screen, but just make sure anyone who's a member knows we've got 2 streams coming up. We have the December monthly member live stream, and that's going to be on Saturday. Normally it's the last Sunday of every month, but it'll be Saturday the 27th at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then the annual end of year member appreciation stream will be Sunday, December 28th, and that'll start at 4:30. Always look forward to that, and hope to see some of you there. And thank you for all the Last Timers Club supporters. Appreciate you very much, and I appreciate all of you. All right. So, let's get back into this. We're going to go into the second case. All right. And by the way, anyone who is a member and sent a Discord invite, don't worry, I will take care of you. I know there's a few emails and there's some other ones too. I'll get you into the members Discord, so hang tight. I will get that over to you within the next day or so. All right, so let's see here. Get the music off, and now we'll go into the next one. And this is Jeff.
Said.
And I'm going to put this up on screen so you have the case reference as well. Hopefully this works properly. I did set it up in advance. All right, it worked. Okay, here we go.
Remember the old man, the one you thought was Judas? This showed me that you believe.
Sorry, that was...
You truly...
There we go.
For the spirit world, what near-death experiences may teach about life on the other side. Today we're going to share the experience of Jeffrey from endurf.org. Jeffrey says, when I was 19, I found out that my girlfriend was cheating on me with one of my best friends. So I washed down several bottles of drugs with a bottle of rum. My mom called an ambulance and I went to the hospital. Before I got there, I was out. I normally got a euphoric feeling after taking drugs, like being high or drunk. I don't know how long it was, but the next thing I know, I felt like I was in bed and slipping off of it to my left. I didn't feel drunk or foggy at all. I instinctively tried to grab onto the bed, and I jumped up. I was overwhelmed with panic. I saw images of a house, a Jaguar car, and people that I had never seen before in my life. Immediately, I was thrown back on the table. I opened my eyes and I saw a doctor on top of me giving me a chest massage. I tried to sit up, thinking he would move out of the way, but he didn't. Again, I went into him and saw images of his wife, kids, and his car. I felt the panic in him. It was so overwhelming and repelled from these visions. And it was so overwhelming, and I repelled from these visions. I slammed back onto the table. I was slipping to the left again and looked to the right to see my own body next to me. When I looked back to the left, I saw a flash of blue light. As I looked to the corner of the room to get a better look, I saw a column of light coming down to the floor. I heard a voice from my right say, "It's all right. We'll save you." As I looked, I saw what truly looked like...
It's all right. We'll save you. Us. An external source will save you.
All right. We'll save you. As I looked, I saw what truly looked like a blue fairy taking me by the hand. I caught a glimpse of a green light heading to my left, but it took my hand and pulled it up over my head. I couldn't see what it was because the two of them together pulled me around, upright and off to the right side of the room in the corner. I shook them off so I could see what was going on. I saw the doctor over me trying to revive me, a nurse at my head putting an oxygen mask or something on me, and my mom in the doorway with her arms crossed. The little blue angel said, "We don't have time. We have to hurry." As I began to really comprehend the situation, they took me into the column of light, and it was a trip. The motion and light seemed to make me feel a little bit sick, so I closed my eyes for a while and opened them every once in a while out of pure curiosity. I saw the proverbial stairway to heaven along the way with someone being led up it by a dog.
Wish I had a Led
Eventually,
Zeppelin drop.
I saw clouds. As I tried to look over my shoulder and down to the ground, I saw a huge crowd of people standing in front of the gate of heaven.
Huh.
The little angels put me down just inside the gate and to the right of it in a room. I was kneeling with my eyes closed for a minute. It was so cold, and as I thought that, it stopped. I opened my eyes to see that I was in a room.
As I thought
cloud
that, it stopped. As I thought that, it stopped. Really important. Got intention.
I opened my eyes to see that I was in a room with cloud walls. I started to walk toward the clouds, and a voice said, "Don't do it. You'll regret it. You'll be lost forever." I turned back around and was pretty angry because
So you have something giving directions. You'll be lost forever. Don't do it. You'll regret it. You know, directions and following directions. Giving up yourself again on a silver platter.
forever. I turned back around and was pretty angry because I fully intended for dead to be dead. I was realizing that this was not what I expected. This wasn't dead. It was just more living in a different place. I was an arrogant, angry 19-year-old. I thought to myself, so this is heaven. At least they could have given me a bench or something to sit on.
Listen.
Just as I looked down to a place where I would have put one, there was a white marble bench. I thought,
oh, how convenient.
Great, a marble bench. I bet this is going to be cold. But it wasn't. As I sat down on it, a corner of the room turned flat. The clouds started to get dark and swirl. It opened like an elevator door, and there were 3 figures standing there, silhouetted by a bright light. I could feel them as well as see them. One was my grandmother, and another one, a very old lady, said, "See, I told you so," to my grandmother. The third one was a young girl who flew into the room with a joyous squeal and sat down next to me. The door closed, and she asked me what happened. I'm not real good at telling my problems to people I don't know, but her compassion and caring nature seemed to bring it all out of me. She took me on several journeys. The first was like the story of Christmas Scrooge. She showed me things from my past that were significant, things that I had done that impressed people, and the things that people said that I never knew. She showed me the people that would be affected by my death, the people that would be affected by my life. It didn't really have much effect on my selfish, arrogant 19-year-old self. The next thing I knew, I was walking up in a grassy field on a sunny day. I could hear really southern, hillbilly-sounding voices of a girl and a couple of guys. They were laughing and cutting up in a really stupid way. I tried to slowly, quietly get up to look over the grass and see who it was. I saw a run-down old shack. As a breeze came across the grass, I caught a whiff of the foulest smell. I finally saw the people that were talking, but they weren't really people. They were wearing overalls, but they had jackal faces. They noticed me and came running over. They asked who I was and where did I come from. Just then, one of them pointed to the sky. As I looked, I saw a line appear and the sky ripped open. A giant brown creature came jumping out and landed next to me. He had horns all over his head, 5 or 6 eyes, and was cussing violently. He was not like the detailed creatures you would see in a movie. He was more like a cartoon. He smelled really bad and was really hard to listen to. His words were full of curse words and insults. I don't remember all what he said, but he grabbed me and jumped back into the hole in the sky. We landed on a platform in space with a wall of what looked like TV screens. They were actually cubes. There was a control
This is when it gets really interesting.
panel-like podium. He told me this was hell, and in every cube was a custom-made hell for every soul. He explained that people adapt.
All right, so, it's a custom cube for everybody, right? Hence the cubes on the thumbnail. It like here, see the cubes with the hand? So it's interesting, right? Because when you look at this realm, when you look at especially the papers released with the cube from the CIA declassified documents, there's links with, I think it might be the Stargate papers. Don't quote me on that, but that document, it's 29 pages long. I will find out the exact name of it. And, it talks about how we're in basically a holographic illusion and how it works and blah, blah, blah. I think it's probably the most truthful document those bastards have ever released. But I find it interesting how he's saying like they were actually cubes. There was a control panel like a podium. He told me this was hell, and in every cube was a custom-made hell for every soul. Does that mean the Earth experience? I don't know. I mean, I know maybe I'm probably reaching quite a bit on that, but there's way too many things that are connecting with one another that you can't really ignore it. There's something to that. I really feel that way. And I'll find that document for you guys. I'm going to go through the rest of the experience first, and then I'll be sure to drop it in the chat for you.
Custom-made hell for every soul. Hell. And in every cube was a custom-made hell for every soul. He explained that people adapt to every kind of hell, and some people are more tolerant of some things than others, so hell is ever-changing. He took great joy out of watching people suffer. As I walked along the wall of cubes, I was sucked into one of them and found myself in a small white room with a door and a shelf. Soon the door opened, and a very good-looking guy and girl walked in. They were very nice to me and asked if they could get me something. Generally in unknown situations, I don't eat or drink. It's just me. I have to be perfectly comfortable before I'll indulge myself. So I kept saying, no, but they kept on bugging me about it until it became so annoying that I finally told them, sure, a sandwich and a Coke. They left and returned with a sandwich and a Coke. I was skeptical, so I just let them sit on the shelf. Then they started to bug me to take a bite and enjoy. I finally gave in and took a bite, but I looked through it just to make sure it was what I thought it was. After biting into it, I was totally repulsed by the flavor. It was so rank I spit it out and grabbed for the Coke and it was just as bad.
Okay, so when you hear that, you can't help but ask yourself, okay, so he's saying, oh, normally, like, I won't eat in front of anyone unless I'm comfortable, right? And so what happens? The Matrix serves up basically a situation where that it knows he won't be comfortable with. And so it puts that scenario out there. And lo and behold, again, it's something he doesn't, he normally is like, I'm not going to eat around people unless I'm comfortable. And so the Matrix knows that and serves up a nice dish of fuckery to him. How convenient. It's almost like it knows every single thing and where the trigger points are, right?
I spit it out.
By the way, I left a document in the chat for you from archive.org.
Grabbed for the Coke and it was just as bad. I had to spit it out too. They laughed and laughed as I was trying to get the rank taste out of my mouth. Real funny, ha ha. Then they apologized and offered to get me another. I said no thanks, and they again started to convince me that they were just joking and it wouldn't happen again. I finally just stopped talking to them and began to see that these two good-looking people actually had jackal faces with a transparent mask or something. I realized that I could see through their masks, and this whole thing was just a way of torturing me. I was whisked up and snatched out of the cube in a whirlwind. As I left the platform, I could hear the devil screaming, "No!" The next thing I knew, I was being shown flashes of all the bad things I had ever done, and I was being put into other people's shoes as I was doing bad things to them. I could see how insensitive I was to people.
So we've basically got a life review. That's what we're getting.
I was doing bad things to them. I could see.
But it's like it seems to be dedicated to it being in a negative fashion,
See how insensitive I was to people and didn't even know it. It was excruciating and overwhelming to relive things I had forgotten about or just didn't care about. I was made to feel the way I made others feel. It was so cold, and I was shivering. I realized I was somewhere. I opened my tear-filled eyes and found myself kneeling in a cave of some kind. It had a low ceiling and a cold, wet floor and was very dark. I felt so alone and abandoned. I began to try to move through the cave in the dark. It was hard because I couldn't crawl without getting wet, and I couldn't stand up because the ceiling was so low. I didn't want to get wet because I was so cold. Soon I saw an amber light ahead. I hoped that it would be warmer near this light. I could see other people near the light and found a crowd of people all kneeling at the side of an opening. I could tell there was fire inside. I saw a girl kneeling with her wrists cut, a man with a rope around his neck, and another with the back of his head blown out. I could hear screaming from the cave ahead, and I was trying to get one of these people to talk to me and tell me where I was. One of them told me to be quiet, or I would be next. Then a huge, ugly demon reached out of the cave, grabbed them, and dragged them into the cave. I became worried that I would be next. I knelt down. As I closed my eyes, I was overwhelmed again with visions and emotions of all the bad things in my life. I opened my eyes and realized that I could not close them unless I wanted this to happen. I looked around and realized this is why everyone looked like a bunch of zombies. You could not close your eyes. You cannot close your eyes. You cannot talk to the others. You cannot stand up. You cannot sit down. You can only kneel there on the tips of your toes and the points of your knees.
Jesus.
All you could do is stare there in the hole of fire, listening to the screams, and hope you're not next. I saw a man in a robe who was about 40 years old, with a trimmed beard and balding head. I thought he looked like a monk, and was wondering to myself if this was Judas. After a long time, my eyes began to burn so badly, I finally decided that it was worth it to put up with the bad flashes if I could just close my eyes for a while. I began to sob quietly as the flashes of my evil ways rushed in, and I heard a voice. It said, "If you ask him, maybe he will save you." I thought to myself,
if you serve yourself up on a platter, maybe he'll save you. So you have to ask. So they're like, they're, in my opinion, setting up a consent scenario or an intention scenario, however you want to word it, right?
Ask him. Maybe he will save you. I thought to myself,
A contract.
How? The voice said, say it. Say the words, Jesus Christ, my Savior in heaven, please save me. I said the words out loud. The voice said, again. And so I said it again, and again, and again. The screaming stopped, and then the flashes stopped. It was silent. As I looked up, I saw a man sitting in a giant stone chair. There was a silver-winged creature next to him who had a helmet with wings on it. There was a woman on his left. She had some very old men behind her. We were on a platform in space, but the stars were eyes instead. I realized that the stars were eyes instead.
That's weird, right? Their eyes. Yeah, that's like super creepy.
I realized that this was Jesus, and the creature on his right was the angel of the Lord, and the woman on his left was the Blessed Virgin Mary. I can only guess that the old man had to be Abraham, Moses, or one of those important people. Maybe the disciples, Peter, Paul, or something. Jesus had a look of disappointment on his face that touched me to my soul and made me feel so ashamed. The angel of the Lord.
There's the shame. Got to make sure we get the shame in there.
My soul and made me feel so ashamed.
I could just picture like 500-foot Jesus up there, causing this. I am so upset with you. How you've been acting. Come on, guys. Come on.
The angel of the Lord said, "Tell our Lord what brings you here."
Yes, tell our Lord.
I began to explain that I felt the world was not a fair place and I didn't want to be part of it anymore.
Uh-oh.
He looked at me as...
Interesting, right? Isn't that interesting? I told the Lord I didn't think the world was fair and I don't want to be a part of it anymore. Makes you wonder if this is why they threw the kitchen sink at him. He's asking the logical questions based off experience. He's sick of it, knows it's messed up, doesn't want to be a part of it anymore, and yet they basically torture him and then roll out 500-foot Jesus, or however many feet Jesus it may be. It doesn't matter. I always like to see him, figure, at least 500 feet. Well, maybe 50, but, we got a nice tall Jesus in there. It always makes it funnier, even though we don't get his height.
As if I was crazy and asked, "Who told you it was going to be a fair world?"
Who
I really
told
didn't
you?
understand. The girl that I first met in heaven swooped in and whisked me away to a great hall that was kind of dark. We were at a great doorway. As I asked her where we were, she told me that she had something to show me. The door opened, and a bunch of people came out. I saw a group of priests that I recognized from another religious experience I had had at Versailles when I was a child. I had a brief flashback of that experience. As the room emptied, we went in. It was dark, and there was a great round table with a three-dimensional display in the middle of the universe. There was an old man. As she brought me to him, he asked, "And why are you here?" The girl explained that I felt that life had treated me badly and thought it was unfair. He thought this was the most preposterous thing that I would think such a thing. And
oh, how dare you think that the world is unfair and not right? You gotta be kidding. Oh, how preposterous. Oh, thank you so much for the very kind super chat. I appreciate it very much, BR. That's very kind. It says, "Merry Christmas, Mark. Wishing you a great new year and wonderful to see you back. Thank you. Appreciate you so much. Always good to see you.
Short began to explain that the globe on the table was the universe, and that all the stars had meanings, and their arrangements had meanings. When people were born, the arrangements of the stars in the universe had an effect on them, and the life that they would lead. He explained that heaven was a safe place where souls are protected and taken care of by our Lord.
Oh,
Everyone,
that's good. Everyone's protected up there, and then they send you down here. What kind of protection is that? Just saying.
has their own status, and that status is determined by what you have done and learned in the material world. He explained that people are rarely happy with where they are for long, and that they are always longing to move forward.
You know, when I heard that, it's like, boy, I wonder why so many feel that way. They want to move on because they don't want to deal with it anymore. They want to move on. They want to, be a sovereign, true essence being and, have some fun out there and not have to deal with an insane asylum anymore. Is that so much to ask? And then the Matrix paints it in this weird way of shaming him. I can't believe you would think that way. I know I'm kind of blowing off some steam there, but you get what I'm saying. It's like the whole thing is set up. It's like the fear, guilt, shame matrix. We talk about that all the time. Fear, guilt, shame. However it can get it. And then it's like, you actually don't have fun down there all the time? Lifetime after lifetime being memory wiped? You're not enjoying yourself 24/7 constantly? You don't enjoy slaving away at a 9 to 5 all the time or whatever you're doing?
For long, and that they are always longing to move forward. The souls in heaven are no different. He explained that I came to this council begging to be born into the material world. He explained that I presented them with a very well thought out case, and that I employed the help of many wise people to determine exactly where and when I was to be born and who I would be born to. I chose my own name for a very distinct reason, and if there's anybody to blame for the life I'm living, it was myself. He explained that I entered into a contract with the Creator, and I must live up to that contract or face the consequences.
Entered into a contract. A contract. Right in the word. Con. And it's interesting how these things carry over into the material from the astral, right? These agreements, these contracts, whatever they may be. Now, mind you, once your Mitsu expires, don't worry about that type of shit. Revoke the contracts, don't exist. It's over, right? There's no more agreement in any way, shape, or form, and I don't think it matters anyways. I personally don't. But the bottom line is this place has a way of again, this is we talk about the fear, guilt, shame. This is guilt. This is shame. Casting guilt onto somebody well, you had a contract. We agreed that you were going to go down to Earth and deal with all the bullshit down there. Nobody said it was going to be easy, but you agreed to it. You entered into this contract. Little do I think most know is that we can revoke all this shit, right? Our intention be by awakening, by becoming aware of the mechanisms of the system, by realizing our true power, right? That's the important part. But kind of like what we were talking about in the last case, how, it's faith, religion, all that stuff brings comfort. Those are setup jobs. Those are hatchet jobs to get people into a continuous cycle of reincarnation, or at least at a minimum, one more cycle if they buy into that bullshit in their current lifetime, right?
He ended the whole speech telling me that I knew
let me back it up.
The Creator, and I must live up to that contract or face the consequences. He ended the whole speech telling me that I knew what I was getting into. I knew the risks and complications, and that I had been warned. My only choice was to go back and finish what I started. I didn't get a word in edgewise. For me, at 19 years of age, this didn't really go over very well. I thought he was just a mean old man with a bad attitude, especially since he ran us out of the room and slammed the door behind us. I found myself back on the platform before Jesus. The Blessed Mother asked me what I thought of what I learned. I told her I thought it wasn't right that I had to put up with people hurting me, that Jesus was supposed to protect me, and if I was going to go back, then I wanted him to make it right. He looked at me and said, "My son, I cannot cause pain to another. I can only heal those who are broken." With the arrogance of youth, I tried to pull the old, "I want to talk to the manager" routine and demanded to talk to God. The Blessed Mother said, "You cannot see God." Jesus
So then I want a refund. Damn it.
Jesus spoke and said, "No one can see God." The Blessed Mother was angry and told me to kneel before this great healer and ask forgiveness. I knelt down. I could feel the great disappointment and astonishment at my arrogance. I began to weep, and Jesus asked, "Do you know why I saved you from the pit of purgatory?"
Oh, tell me, Jesus.
I replied, "No." He said, "Remember the old man, the one you thought was Judas? This showed me that you believe. You truly believe." I realized at that moment that Jesus...
See, this told me that you believe, that you bought into the bullshit. And so it makes you easier prey. It proved to me that you believe in the faith of the Matrix. Not Jesus, not this, that. No, you believe in a Matrix faith. Because that's what it is. It has nothing to do with any sort of archetype or being or whatever, right? It has to do with believing in what the Matrix is selling. Nothing more, nothing less. Because then it gets intention, consent by proxy due to belief systems that are cooked up and signed onto while here.
You truly believe. I realized at that moment that Jesus was with me and had been with me the whole time.
What a guy.
He was always with me throughout everything that had happened. And my belief means way more than I had ever realized. He saw something in me that even I didn't see.
Oh, what a shock.
I began to weep so badly that I was frozen there on the floor, with my head in my hands and crying uncontrollably. The Blessed Mother ordered me to come forward and kiss his feet. It was like trying to crawl out of a block of concrete on my back.
The Blessed Mother ordered me to come forward and kiss his feet. Oh, bleh, bleh. Getting a little sick to my stomach.
It was like trying to crawl out of a block of concrete on my back, with a block of concrete on my back. If I could measure it in time, it took me a whole 5 minutes to crawl 5 feet. When I got to his feet, I saw that they were dirty and well worn, like a person who had never worn shoes and had walked everywhere. They went for their whole life. I would have rather kissed a baboon than these feet with the yellow split toenails, but I did kiss them. After I did, I could feel myself being pulled back to the material world, and I cried out that I wanted to stay. Jesus said, "Give me a chance. Give me a chance to make it right in the end." I thought, great, in the end. That means I will be all screwed up until I die. And in the end, then what will that be? I think it was the Mother Mary who then gave me a message. It was a very compressed message that had words, pictures, and emotions rolled up in one. I was shown a vision of future events that have mostly come true. These were things no one could have predicted. As I entered the tunnel to return, I saw a vision of a circle with an eye in the middle of it. And as I turned, I could see scenes.
So you got the all-seeing eye, turns it, and it's a symbol that crosses over between the earthly realm and the astral realms, the experiencer realms, whatever. So what does that tell us? It tells us that, this thing, this whole charade going on has connections between the earth realm and the astral. It's not like we didn't know that, but pointing it out for those who may be new or otherwise on the fence about all this. It's this whole system between the earth and the astral realms, material realms, whatever you want to call it, right? It's all connected, and it's like a conveyor belt, right? You go from one state of existence to another state of existence, and then eventually the next state of existence leads you back down here. Memory wiped. That's the nail in the coffin. The nail in the coffin will always be the memory wipe. Nobody can explain that away. I've seen many people try. It's a joke. You can't explain it away. Again, it goes back to the age-old question that I brought up since the very beginning of this channel, that if you come here, if everything is designed for us to learn and grow and evolve spiritually as a being, as a spirit being, or whatever being you may want to think of yourself as, then how can you learn and grow and excel when there is something like a memory wipe intact? That is one thing nobody can ever come and give a logical explanation for, because it doesn't exist. There's no explanation that can ever get rid of that fact. So, the whole point of karma and growing and learning and soul's evolution and blah, 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 right? You cannot explain that when you have something like a memory wipe existing lifetime after lifetime. You just can't. And that's the crux of the soul trap right there. That's the nail in the coffin. And I've said that since day one. And because the evidence, or the data, I should say, the evidence and data shows consistently that the narrative that the Matrix is spinning consistently over and over and over and over again is that we are here to learn and grow and excel and then eventually ascend or move on, to the next level, right? But it conveniently leaves out the fact that when you come back here, that there is a memory wipe. So it begs the question, and I can't stress it enough, how do we learn? How do we grow? How do we right the wrongs of past incarnations and eventually move on when something like a memory wipe exists? Now, I think if the Matrix was really smart, it would put on another level on top of that, right? But it doesn't. And thankfully, that's left a door open for individuals like us to question this place the way we do. If it had another layer where you had partial memories of certain things, or even if it was like a dog and pony show, right? Oh, well, I'm born here and, I start, maybe I'm into I'm a teenager or something. And then but I'm still having some recollections of past wrongdoings, and that, I need to, work on myself here or do this and that here and there and grow from those experiences. Then it would surely be able to extend the scam a bit more. But to be honest, I think it probably achieves its goals better with a straight up memory wipe, because the way this whole thing has been constructed is nothing short of utter genius, because it's pure genius. Because if you have individuals not remembering where they came from, why they're here, where they're going, what their purpose is, etc., and then continually in this loop in combination with things like a memory wipe and trauma and pain and suffering and euphoria and etc., right? Pick it, pick anything, pick all of the above. You are much easier prey through a system like that. And then also information, realizations don't leak out into the public that way too. So I really think even though I think if they allowed some leakage of like maybe your most recent past life or last couple past lives, and then we had those realizations that we were to work on stuff like that, it probably would be to their detriment. So maybe putting forward that, opening that type of channel to us as individuals or to everybody, right, is probably not in its best interest, right? This way, like, they close it completely, because at the end of the day, we can look and see very clearly that most individuals out there are surely not asking the big questions. They're just not. They don't want to face it. They don't want to look at it. They don't want anything to do with it. And so I think maybe I just kind of defeated my own point initially of what I was saying. It's like, I think maybe if you open the floodgates even just a tiny bit on an individual level, maybe it would help expose this place more. I don't know. But whatever they're doing clearly works, because we are such a small percentage out there asking these types of questions. And that's really all there is to it. So I guess, they're clearly doing something right. I don't know. I was just kind of shooting from the hip with that one and realized, no, I guess it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, their success rate is huge. Absolutely massive. It's got to be in like if I had to guess, the amount of individuals who actually liberate themselves through sovereign intention is probably, what do you think? Maybe 1%, 2%? And that may even be generous. I don't know. But I think it's a small number. So I don't know. Maybe it just doesn't matter. Clearly they're doing something right, because they've got millions and billions of people under its spell to have false gods, false prophets, false directions, intentions, whatever, towards things that are purely created and learned inside this whole system. Does that make sense?
Vision of a circle with an eye in the middle of it, and as I turned,
hold on,
I
let
could
me just
see
back this up a little
things
bit.
no one could have predicted. Oceans rolled up in one. I was shown a vision of future events that have mostly come true. These were things no one could have predicted. As I entered the tunnel to return, I saw a vision of a circle with an eye in the middle of it, and as I turned, I could see scenes around it like a clock of people and places all moving at once. I realized that this was God, and I had been allowed by Him to see Him in the way I could understand. It was a great comfort to be given that image, even though Jesus Himself said that I could not see God. The feeling I had when I realized that Jesus was there with me all along, I now had been given that feeling from God Himself. and I went peacefully. As I entered my body again, I could feel my heart beat. The warmth and the uncomfortable feeling of having laid in one spot for a long time. I could not respond in any way and was in a coma for 3 days after that. I occupied my mind by going over the events again and again because I felt like I might forget. At one time, I felt a warm hand in mine, and I struggled to open my eyes to see who it was. I saw a young girl with long brown hair standing next to my bed and holding my hand. When I woke up, I asked the nurse who she was and where did she go. She looked so surprised when I described her, but then explained that there was no young girls in the intensive care unit, and no one had been allowed beyond the glass in 3 days. The only people had been the same 4 old ladies in the 12-hour shifts, and they had all worked there for years. I thought this might be a dream, but she explained to me that I had died for 6 minutes, and I had been in the intensive care unit for 3 days. That is the end of Jeffrey's experience. And I'll be honest, when I first read this, I was skeptical of this one. Not skeptical of, whether the person made this totally up. I think they did have this experience, but I was a little bit skeptical about whether it was a dream or something, just because there were so many.
Now, let me just preface this by saying the person commenting, reading the experience is an LDS church member. Okay, that's very, very important to put up there.
Made this totally up. I think they did have this experience, but I was a little bit skeptical about whether it was a dream or something, just because.
Well, he mentioned a coma too, or they mentioned a coma. Really, really important that this was brought up.
There were so many bizarre elements in it, and each one individually, I think, would be a little bit more plausible to me initially, but, with them all crammed, one thing after another, it started to feel kind of roller coaster-ish, in an uncomfortable sort of way, you might say. But as I thought about it, and as I read through it and so forth, I realized that seemed to be part of one of the intentions of the experience, and it's and I'm kind of leaving it to you whether to decide whether you believe this to be an actual near-death experience. I do tend to believe it was, and I think it was a unique one, albeit a very hellish one. I mean, let's face it, this is one of the most unpleasant kinds of things that you could experience, and that image of you've got these jackal-headed people and one strange, smelly creature taking him to this almost like a control center where you could see all these different cubes or almost like TV screens showing the different kinds of hell that people can go through, and the next thing he knows, he's experiencing one kind after another kind after another kind, as if, like the creature said, so as to not have them adapt to it, and just a horrible kind of thing, and from the experiences that he has with the more, kind and loving beings, I gather that this is something of, I don't want to say a punishment, but he needed a perspective on what he was doing with his life. Not only was he a selfish, conceited individual, but then he'd committed suicide out of just almost like spite. He was just an angry individual, and one that should have known better from his own explanation. And yet life was tough, and it's not like he was some spoiled brat or anything. I mean, he had a tough life, from what it sounds like, but he did not react well to it. And from what the one being said, he'd chosen it himself. He'd made a well laid out case of why he should be allowed to come, and so forth, and into this particular situation, and so forth. So again, I'm going to leave it to you whether you believe in it, that this is a real near-death experience or not. I tend to believe it is, but I also feel like much of what he was shown was deeply symbolic. I mean, when he talks about Jesus having, dirty, almost corroded feet, I mean, I seriously doubt that Jesus has that. But there was something symbolic.
Well, guess what? He does, and he did. We've seen all sorts of weird shit happen with NDEs or coma NDEs or whatever the case may be, right? Involving Jesus from being angelic to straight up demonic, right? They're all out there. So there's a lot of examples to work with, which leads to the question, if there are so many variations of Jesus or other deities or whatever you want to call them, archetypes, doesn't matter, right? Then good, both representing themselves as good and bad, then what the hell is going on, right? It brings the question to the forefront. Who and what are these beings? And you can have religious individuals out there saying, oh, well, what you experienced or what they experienced, that was Satan. That was Lucifer. That was, just dismissing it so easily instead of looking at the bigger picture and saying, well, hey, maybe, just maybe, or most definitely, that this whole system is a sham. A sham and a scam, right?
In that he apparently needed to experience, and so it was portrayed to him in that way. And so, that just interesting. Anyway, I thought it worth sharing. And while we haven't shared a lot of the negative or hellish experiences, it seems to be about the ratio of hellish experiences that we come across is about as often as we share them in comparison with the good experiences. That seems to be about how often they actually happen. 1 in 10. I mean, you hear the statistics that many near-death experience researchers give, and they say, 20% will have distressing near-death experience. And when you get into what they mean by that, what they usually mean is that there's some point in their experience where there's an unpleasant aspect to the experience. And that can be anything from, reviewing some negative experiences in their life that they had done to someone and therefore it was distressing to them, to, feeling fear at being in the dark of the void, even though they didn't encounter anything hellish, and so forth. And you find that and I think that's about fair. 20% of experiences have unpleasant aspects to them. But I would say it's probably less than 1 in 10. I mean, it's probably, 2 or 3% of experiences are truly hellish like this. And generally, these kinds of experiences seem to be to people who, in their own words, they would say that they deserved that, or not deserved it, but they felt like it was a cleansing experience of sorts. They had to experience something unpleasant enough to be able to shake them from their horrible life perspective that they had of just being victims and having everything be horrible about their lives and so forth. That helped them see that I can change my life. I can make different decisions. I can have better attitudes about my situation.
A lot of truth there.
Admittedly, that's not an easy thing to come to terms with or to really have sink in. And for some people, this seems to be the kind of experience that helps them to realize that. It really shakes them up to the point where they say, okay, I'm ready to understand. I do find it interesting what he says in here, what Jeffrey says about the importance of belief, in the importance of what role belief plays in his life. That his thought of seeing the man and that man in the one place and saying, I wonder if that's Judas, that was an indication to himself in a way, and one that came up in his interview with Jesus and Mary and so forth, was that he truly does believe in God, in Jesus and so forth, and something about that belief is really valuable, really meaningful. So anyway.
Okay. I think that the whole thing with belief, as we've talked about tons of times, right? Belief is intention, right? Belief are things that we've all learned and used as footprints throughout our existence here. And what it does is it helps mold our day to day, right? Whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, doesn't matter. The bottom line is belief systems are key. And being content in life is key. We can, I want to bring this up. I think it's really, really important. We've talked about it probably hundreds of times, right? Or at least I've mentioned it hundreds of times. The importance of your state of mind, right? Things could be shitty. Things could be horrible. And I think we go through these cycles, right, while we're here. And I've been going through one. Some of you may saw my community post, and I can even kind of touch on a little bit more, but I'm not going to bore you with all that shit, right? But it's belief is intention. Faith is intention. And one of the hardest things as a sharer of information, right? I've found it very, very difficult, guys, to share this information and convey it in a way where to those, because it's a small segment, right? But there's some out there who listen, and I get it, right? They're already maybe in a bad state of mind, right? They've learned harsh truths about maybe base level truths about this realm and what's going on here, right? And then they run across a topic like the soul trap and they break, right? Or they run across a topic like NPCs and they break. And you know what? It's perfectly understandable that I was just talking about this earlier today, how we can go through these phases, right? And the awakening process in general, the dark night of the soul, et cetera, right? But at the end of the day, we still have to live it like we're going to be going through it again tomorrow, right? Don't let the information that's shared on this channel take a hold of you to the point where you hate and despise everything and everyone and all that stuff. And if you are at that point, or maybe temporarily at that point and listening to this channel, please stop watching. Come back after you've had some time to decompress, and don't consume other things out there that are exposing truth at the same time. Do what you need to do to take care of yourself, because we're all still here. We all have to go through this process as individuals and as a small group, and because we have our own little, corner of the internet, let's say, where we talk about this stuff. And it's, I've said this many times, that doing this channel was important to not just share the information, but it was almost like a therapy session for me to be able to be around like-minded individuals who get it, who see it, who spent the time and done the research and actually gone through like hundreds or of experiencer cases, thousands of experiencer cases, and see what I see in combination with common sense thinking and evaluation about existence here, right? But everyone comes at this information at different periods of their life, right? And sometimes when you run across information like this, it's not the best time to be consuming it. It doesn't mean that you should ignore it or anything like that. It just means that maybe you should put it kind of on the back burner. Don't necessarily forget about it completely, because it's important to come back and go through a lot of what I've shared here and what Dan shared and Wayne, etc., right? But do it when you're in a better mindset. I saw earlier in the comments something like, and again, I'm not at all comparing what I just said with whoever said it, but like small things like the holidays, right? It some people celebrate them, some people don't, whatever, right? But like if you were just recently celebrating and all that stuff, last year, the year before, or whatever, and you as an individual enjoy that, then do it. It doesn't mean that you're worshiping, the system or anything like that. It's just a way to unwind and enjoy yourself amongst friends and family. That's all. That's how I look at it. I don't look at it with religious connotations or the consumerism, materialism part of it. I just enjoy it because, it's a reason to be having a good time amongst the individuals that I care about. And that's it. The festive season, I personally enjoy it, right? And you shouldn't deprive yourself of that unless, of course, there are other reasons. But it's not like you're submitting yourself wholeheartedly to the system because you want to enjoy some time with your friends or your family, or maybe put up a Christmas tree or some lights, or have a meal or whatever. It doesn't matter, right? Or buy gifts for those that you care about. No big deal, right? If that's what you did before and you liked it, there's no reason not to enjoy it, unless, of course, there's something deep within you that is, you can't get out of it, right? But you still deserve to enjoy yourself, right? That's really what I'm trying to get at. You deserve to enjoy yourself, if that's what you want to do. But, don't treat others differently or be nasty to them because they're celebrating or this, that. Do what you want to do, but at the same time, it's okay to have a good relationship with this time of year if that's what you want. It's not inherently religious. It's not inherently, matrix heavy or matrix commitment or giving away your sovereignty. It's just a way to enjoy you and those that you care about in the moment. And that's all it is. That's how I look at it. That's 100% how I look at it. Nothing more, nothing less. And, it's nice to see the lights and have the tree and, everyone's kind of in a better mood. I always kind of looked at Christmas time, the holiday time, as like everyone's in a better mood, right? What's wrong with that? I think that's a good thing. And of course, then you have the Bible thumpers and all that, but let them do whatever they got to do. Let them go and do their thumping all they want. But to me, it's just an enjoyable time of year. Sometimes a stressful time of year at the same time. But do you. And don't let it ruin your relationships or your love or your affection of others because of this information. That's kind of what I'm getting at. So, oh yeah, but KVN says they say they hate it. Well, if you hate it, then ignore it. No big deal. Then do you. You know, that's fine. No big deal. No problem. Like, everyone has their thing, right? Like, I get it. Like, if you've always kind of not been about it, no big deal. Do your thing. I'm not telling anyone to do anything, right? No big deal. All right. So, yeah, it says, Jazzy Cat says, I don't bother with it, just not interested. Fair enough. Fair enough. And if that's the way you are, that's the way you've been, no big deal. You know, I get it. It's not for everyone. I totally get it. Like, for me, I think for a lot of people, it depends, like, the situation that you grew up in, right? Like, the environment you grew up in, or maybe religious backgrounds too. All that stuff has a lot to do with it. Or maybe you're just completely exhausted and fed up with the entire thing. I get that too. But anyways, I'll stop talking about that topic. And so yeah, I think we'll wrap things up there. Just as a reminder, you can find the channel on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Yes, there are videos on TikTok being uploaded. And there's what the hell else? I don't know. There's probably something else. Check the description tab. And if you are a member, don't forget that we do have the end of year stream Insanity coming up. And so the first stream will be this Saturday. That will be the normal monthly members live stream. Saturday, December 27th at 8 p.m. Eastern. And the link is available in the description. Then on Sunday, the day after, the 28th, at 4 p.m., we will also have the annual end-of-year member appreciation stream. And again, that will start at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So normally we do the last Sunday of every month for the monthly member live stream, but we're doing it on Saturday, and then the end-of-year member appreciation stream will be on Sunday. All right, so those links are already up and available, so you can hit the notification button and get that all set up. And I want to thank everyone for swinging by tonight. If you don't mind hitting the like button, I'd greatly appreciate it. Or maybe you're new and kind of just starting to question the whole Soul Trap thing, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell for all notifications. That way you'll actually get a message when we go live. If you just hit the occasional one, you'll never get anything. I'm telling you. It's just the way this whole system works. And please consider sharing some of the videos that you watch on this channel. It'd be greatly appreciated. Commenting even during the stream and after helps a lot, like more than you can ever know. All this types of engagement is a great way to help the channel, and doesn't cost a dime. And even though I appreciate anyone's support of the channel, I don't ever expect it. Ever. I don't. I will say that, you know, the last month and a half, 2 months, I've had quite a bit of health issues going on, and the treatments that I'm getting are all out of pocket. So anyone supporting the channel, I really, really can't thank you enough. It means the world to me. And you know, maybe I'll talk about some of that stuff in more detail in the member appreciation stream on Sunday. But anyone who wants to support the channel, I can't thank you enough. But I know in this time we're all going through it. Everyone's getting hit in every direction. Doesn't matter what it is. But I'll get into detail on these treatments and how I'm being fleeced beyond belief for something that may or may not help. But anyways, I'll shut up. I appreciate you all. Really, really thank you for being here. And Dave sent another super chat. Thank you. He says, I like surprising people. Thank you, Mark. Happy New Year. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Yes. Happy New Year too. Take the red pill says, are you back making regular videos? Yeah, to some extent. You know, the big thing is how my health kind of goes, right? It's difficult to say right now. I mean, I all I can say is I'm going to try to do my best. The one thing I'm absolutely committed to is the monthly member live stream. That's for sure. And but you know, I'm gonna finish the book commentary. That will probably be happening in the second week of January, maybe sooner. I'm not gonna say 100% that I'd do it sooner, but the second week of January, I'm looking at completing the Michael Talbot book. I'm gonna try. I've got a bunch of clips that have been edited, and I just need to review some of them. So there's gonna be some quick clips, but if you've been around this channel for a long time, they're likely videos you've already or streams you've already seen. But I'm just trying to curate some small clips to attract people who may be new to the topic and not necessarily have time to go through streams. But at the same time, I think the important thing about the streams is that, you know, we really get deep into the information and expose the nooks and crannies about how this whole system works. And some have the time and patience to go through that, and some don't. So, but I can't even tell you. I've literally hundreds of clips being sorted out in my feed right now. It's just I need to find time to be able to go through them all. But expect in 2026 to see quite a few of them coming out, probably on a weekly basis, multiple a week. So, anyways, Dave says, that's why I support you off. And I can, Mark. I know you're up against it. Be well, my friend. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. I know you've got your own shit going on too, brother. So please, you know, I appreciate it. But, you know, make sure you're taking care of yourself first. That's most important. Active Research says, still down for that exclusive late night stream, Marky Mark. Yeah, well, yeah, late night streams are my thing. But Active Research, if you want, we could talk more. If you're talking about, you know, going a little bit deeper, yeah, we could talk more about it this coming Sunday. All right, my friends, I do gotta go to sleep. Gotta wrap things up. Well, I'm not probably going to sleep yet, but you know, it's getting there. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. You all have an enjoyable holiday. If you're celebrating, you know, don't treat anybody else differently if you think they're like an NPC or anything like that. Just make sure you're concentrating on yourself and let everyone live and let live, you know? All right. Appreciate you all and look forward to seeing you again soon. We will have, again, the book review coming up in the second week of January for sure. Much love.